All right, ladies, it is 2 o'clock and I'm going to ask you to do this. If you have a question, if you will unmute, since there's such a small group, I don't mind a bit for you to ask questions during the time. Yes, you can put it on chat, but just in case I miss it, please unmute and ask me at any time a question. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So let us begin. Now, we're today going to talk about the IABS, the information about brokerage services, a buyer's rep agreement, but not a listing agreement. That will be later on. At one point, we were going to do all three, but decided that might be a little too much, especially for just an hour. So let us start with the IABS. Let me zoom in just a little bit here. And let's begin. The information about brokerage services is very important because you need to tell your people the things you can do as a realtor in the state of Texas. And the first thing it says, it delineates between what a broker does and what a sales agent does. Since you are a sales agent, you need to make sure that you must be sponsored by a broker, and you are, and you work on behalf of your client. Then it goes through the broker's main things that they can do by law. They can put their interest of the client above all others. The broker will inform the client of everything, that all the information that they get. They will answer all questions, and they will present all offers, and they'll treat everybody fairly. That is the general information that any broker does. Now, as a license holder, the next thing it says, you can represent a party in 3 different ways. The first way is that as the agent for the seller. That's a listing. That is how you represent them first. Now you have an agreement, it says. You become the agent through an agreement. That's your listing agreement to sell or to lease the property. And an owner's agent will perform the broker's minimum up top, plus you're going to talk to the other agents as they come in. Thank you, ma'am. The sub-agents or the buyer's agents that bring an offer for your seller. The second way that you can represent someone is as a buyer's agent or a tenant. The broker becomes the buyer-tenant's agent again by agreeing to represent the buyer. Usually it's a written form, and so you get your buyer's representation agreement signed. We'll get to that in just a minute. And you're going to perform, again, first those minimum duties that the broker performs, but also you're going to tell that other, your buyer's agents, you're going to include all information that's disclosed to you by the seller or the seller's agent. So any information you get about the house that you show them, you are able, if you have your buyer representation agreement, to tell them everything you find out from the listing agent about the houses that you show them. Next thing is an intermediary. If an office, if an agent in our office has a listing for sale or for lease, and you show them that property and decide to put an offer in, then you are now in the intermediary status. And so you can act as an intermediary between the parties, but you must get written agreement, and that written agreement can be in various ways. The first one that you must do is you're always going to treat everyone fairly. And the broker can also, with written consent, appoint a different license holder associated with the broker to every party, like the seller, and that's usually going to be your listing agent unless it is you. And then the buyer will be a different person most of the time. If that is not done, it's a little bit more tricky. You can be the listing agent and represent buyers. However, especially if the buyer is a first-time home buyer, Perhaps you as a listing agent, since you are not able to give opinion or advice to these buyers, perhaps it would be smarter for you to give that buyer to someone else and get a referral fee for it. The owner will, because in the third bullet here, you must not, unless you're authorized in writing to do so, you must not disclose that the owner will accept a price less than asking, and or that the buyer tenant will pay a price greater than what they submitted in the written offer, and everything must be kept confidential. So an intermediary form goes through all of those different scenarios and what you can do. So you can represent as a seller, you can represent them as a buyer, or if they want to see or list with us, it might be an intermediary form. Next is a subagent. A subagent is an agent that does not have a buyer's representation agreement. And if a subagent, you can assist the buyer, but you do not represent the buyer, and you must place the interest of the owner first. The most important thing about this is, if you take a buyer to any listing, you are supposedly representing the owner, the seller, the listing, and not your buyer. That is what is so tough about not having a buyer's rep agreement. Because if you want to give advice to your buyer, it is mighty tricky to do it without having a buyer's rep agreement. Then we go through all the documents that are here. I mean, all the information that's here about all of your, the office, the broker of record, Michelle is your supervisor, and then your name is at the end. Before we go any farther, questions, please unmute.
I have one, Karen.
Sure.
Go back to the intermediary. When would we use that? Can you give us that scenario again?
Yes. You only use intermediary is when you have the listing that is in the office and you as a buyer's agent are showing that listing. Then you have to do an intermediary form. On a listing agreement, you have the option of using intermediary or not. But the question is, if it is a listing in the office, then you will be an intermediary of some kind.
What if you are showing a house for another agent? Can you give advice to their clients?
If you're showing another agent's listing?
Let's say I go and do I have to go open a house up for Jeff.
Sure.
Because he's, occupied with his clients and they are asking me questions.
You can answer all the questions that you know about the house.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with that, even without a buyer's rep agreement. What you know about the house is probably exactly what's on HAR.
Correct. Okay.
All the information on there, there's nothing wrong with that. But now if they want to put an offer in on the house, let's talk about with them a buyer's rep agreement so that you can give them advice on what to offer and how much and all like that.
But that aspect, because they're not my clients, they are represented by Jeff. He's just not there.
Just give them the basic information. You're a realtor. You can give them all the information that they have online.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions?
Karen,
Yes.
This is Lori. I had a question. Like yesterday, I was at an open house and they asked me if there were multiple offers on the house.
Yes.
What do you do in that circumstance?
What do you do then? You can, and we'll get into that in the buyer's rep agreement. You can tell them, yes, there are multiple offers on the house. Right now, usually you don't tell them how much they are. It's just, yes, there are. So I just wanted to let you know that. And that's okay to do. We ready to go on the buyer's rep?
Can you tell them that there are multiple offers, even if you don't know there are, or if there are not?
No, I would definitely only tell them what you know.
Okay. So don't say, yes, there are, to maybe push them.
No, no. And an agent that's been around a while and I get a listing agent telling me, oh, there's multiple offers on the property, sometimes I'm skeptical, you bet. How do I know whether it's true? I don't have a clue. We're trying to hopefully they're ethical people and will tell you the truth. But is there any way for you for sure to know? No, there isn't. You have to trust them and just talk to your buyers and tell them the best you can. In these days, are there multiple offers? Oh, yes. And so for that to be told to you now would be definitely a very viable answer, because there are often multiple offers on most homes. Any other questions? Okay, buyer's rep agreement. How to fill it out. Okay, well, the top one are your clients. If you especially know their name, phone, and email, and that's all you know, that's fine. You do not have to put the address in if you don't have it. Broker, as always, broker is us, the office, Keller, Williams, Premier, Realty, Katie. Make sure on whatever way you are doing electronic signatures that you make sure when you're putting the contact in that, you know, we're already up there, Houston Premier. So it should fill in for you. Make sure all the details are correct and you've got the office as the broker. Our address, city, state, your phone, your email. Next, appointment. The client grants the broker exclusive right. They're not going to sign this with 15 people. Just you, the exclusive right to act as their real estate agent for acquiring a property in the market area. And acquire means to purchase or to lease. Closing, that's a title, legal title to a property is conveyed to the buyer. Closing on a lease transaction means the day that they form and bind that lease, when they close on the lease. C, market area is important. You need to put something in there. It depends on where you need to talk to them when you're beforehand. Where do you want to look? Is it in a certain school district? Is it in a certain zip code? Is it in a certain subdivision? Put as much information as you can, because these are the areas that you're going to show them. It can be greater Houston area. It can be Katy and surrounding area. It can be Katy ISD. It can be 77493-450 and 494. Put something in there, because you need, lower on it says, we're going to close on this market area, a property in this market area. If you don't have anything in there, not good. So put something in there. Ask your buyer, where do you want to look? And put as much as you can. Next. Question, yes.
So when we put the area, we put the code or we put zip code, or we can do either or?
It can be either or both.
Okay.
Just as much as you know about where they want to look.
Okay.
Yeah. Property, it can be MLS, things that are on MLS or other listing services. It can be property for sale by owners, FSBOs, or properties for sale by builders. Not all builders put them on MLS. Most of them do, unless it is a lot that they've gone in and they're starting from the ground, then that might not be in MLS. So those are properties. Term, the day you're going to get it signed out, I recommend 6 months, especially on a new build. If you can only get 3, that's fine. If you have someone that doesn't want to sign this at all, and you can say, let's just do this for a week and see how it goes, great. And then you can change it. Whatever you can do to make sure that you've got some time with them under this agreement, do it. The broker's obligation, number 5. The broker will do its best to assist the client in getting that property, negotiating it, and complying with everything else in this agreement. That's what we say. Now, what does the client say? They will, A, work exclusively through you. the broker. You're the representative of the broker. To acquire a property in the market area, that's why it's so important to put a market area in there. Negotiate it, inform everybody about the contract. The broker represents the client to acquire that property in the market area and refer everybody to the broker to comply with everything else in this document. Next page, 2. So do you notice it says they are going to work exclusively with you. So that's why it's important for you to know and to let them know that they're not going to go out and call every listing agent to show houses. That's your job, and you'll gladly take them to whatever house they want to see. Give them a stack of business cards in case they go out on Sunday afternoon looking at new houses without you and don't tell you. Tell them be bold and be firm because they love you so much and you love them so much. You want everybody to know that you're their listing, that you're their buyer's agent. And everywhere they're going in, they're going to get, I've got a realtor and here's their card. So that if you have not gone ahead to especially a new home sales and let them know that your people are coming without you, that they will let them know that they already have a realtor. Representation, 7. Every person signing has legal authority. They're of age and they can sign it. B says, we're now a party. We're not a party of another buyer representation agreement. C, that all information is true and correct. Or D, I'm not working with any reload company or employer or anyone else who's going to provide benefits to me. If it is a reload company, then you need to put the name in here. Paragraph 8, intermediary. Here it says whether we will do intermediary or not. If you do not click A, you cannot show them houses that our office has listed. So make sure you get A clicked. And then it goes through the intermediary ways to do intermediary. If the owner of the property, let's go over A1. If the owner of the property is serviced by an associate other than you, the associate serving the client under this agreement, the broker can do a couple of different things. They'll either appoint an associate to service the other one, or B, appoint the associate then servicing the client to the client for the same purpose. So they're going to assign it to someone else or not. 2, if the owner of the property is serviced by the same associate, that means you have a listing and you have a buyer's rep agreement. Same person, you. Then the broker may notify the client that they will A, appoint another associate to communicate with them and give them opinions and advice, like that new home buyer, or B, appoint the associate servicing the owner under the listing to the owner for the same purpose. So you can do both sides, but it is very tricky because you cannot give opinions and advice if you are doing both sides. Some agents do it. Some agents in this office do it, but it is quite hard to, and for me, I never would because I wanted my other buyers to be represented. So often I would get them an agent to represent them, get my 25% referral fee and be happy with that. It might be okay if this was someone who had bought and sold homes over and over and over again and did not need my advice or my opinion. It can be done. All right. And B is if they do not do an intermediary. In that case, there's a bunch of they cannot do. If they don't want intermediary, you cannot disclose that they will accept a price less. You cannot disclose that the client will pay except what's in the offer. You cannot disclose any confidential information. And you can, of course, you're still going to treat everybody fairly and comply with the Real Estate Act. Questions? So do we want intermediary? Yes, we want intermediary checked. Paragraph 9, competing clients. If you have 2 buyers rep agreements signed, you're showing 2 different families, but you showed one family this wonderful house. And then you have this other family and you think, oh my goodness, that house might really be good for them too. Well, now your 2 buyers rep clients are now competing. They need to know if that happens, they're in competition, you will definitely present all offers from either one, but let them know that you might have other buyers that you are showing that same house to. And then in that case, you're not going to sway one over the other. You're just going to give the offers that they want you to present to that listing, and they're now competing. This doesn't happen too often, I don't think. Next page. Questions? Questions so far? We good?
So, Karen, this is Simi.
Yes, hey, Sam.
Hi, I have a question for intermediary section 8. If in case we signed the buyer rep and we did not select any of the options like number 8A or the other one, I did not select any of them, then in that case, what happens?
Well, you need to get it selected. You need to choose one.
So
Hey,
can we go and like update it later?
let's, I know there's amendment to the listing agreement.
Okay.
There might be an amendment to the buyer's rep agreement. If not, update it and get them to sign it again.
Okay. Sounds
It would
good.
be
Thank
smart.
you.
That
Yeah.
way that you've got it for sure, for sure.
Okay. Thanks.
You bet.
Karen?
Yes.
Hi, and not in number 4, this is Angeles. What is typically the longest term that you see on agreements, especially when you're working with new home buyers, first-time buyers, excuse me?
Well, I don't usually see more than 6 months.
Okay.
Usually you can get somebody ready to buy in 2 or 3, even if they have to fix their credit and junk like that.
Yep.
And you can always extend the date if you need to.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. If you get longer than 6 months, somebody says, oh, are we going to do this forever? Kind of thing. And of course, you're going to let them know that, you know, if they get mad at you, you can certainly, you know, terminate this. But that doesn't happen till down the road, hopefully.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah. Page 3. All right. Confidential information. Well, as you know, we're going to keep the things, the broker's not going to disclose information that's obtained in confidence. We're not going to disclose to the client any information that's obtained in confidence about any other person or that the broker represents as required. So if an agent in the office has a listing that you have shown your buyer, and that agent in the office is speaking to another agent talking about, and oh, by the way, FYI, don't do this. And that agent's talking to another agent, say, I got this wonderful listing. You know what, my sellers, they're just ready to get out of this house. They are ready to sell it, and they're just ready to, they're going to take anything. Well, one, the agent shouldn't be spouting his mouth off in the office about that. And 2, the broker may not disclose to client any information obtained in confidence, but what about if I'm just overhearing them? Well, yeah, you can probably act on that information and go on and put your offer in as a buyer's agent. But the most important thing is you're wanting your clients to, you're wanting to do the best for your clients. So talking in the office is very important to watch what you're saying and who you're saying it to. So, B, unless otherwise agreed or required by law, the seller or the seller's agent is not obliged to keep the existence of an offer or its terms confidential. If a listing agent receives multiple offers, the listing agent is obliged to treat the competing buyers fairly. Now, I was reading this last night and thinking, all right, seller or seller's agent. is not obliged to keep the existence of an offer or its terms confidential. Existence of an offer, I agree. Yes, there's other offers. Here we are about, are there multiple offers? Yes, we have another offer on this house. But now it says the terms of the offer. Well, I always thought you had to keep them confidential, and usually listing agents only say, yes, I've got 4 offers. And when you send an offer in, they'll usually tell you, I will have to tell you your offer is not on the top of the list, or I have another offer that's a bit better than yours. I would never, as a listing agent, give the terms of the offers I had. So this is a question to me, and I will find out the answer. Can I give you the terms of that offer? I don't think so, but this is a question mark to me. If the listing agent receives multiple offers, we're going to treat all the offers fairly, all the buyers. Broker's fees, number 11. Any questions on that? Commission. All parties agree, usually 3% in number 1 of the gross sales price if we're going to purchase the property. Second, number 2 is to lease the property, and this is 50% of 1 month's rent. Or the last one is NA, because we are not paid on all the rents paid over the term of the lease. So 3%, 50%, and NA. And you can do that on every single buyer's rep agreement. Even if you're just doing a tenant, that's fine. If they decide to buy the home, we'll talk about that in a second.
Hey,
Source
Karen?
of commission. Yes, yes.
I'm so sorry to interject. I had showed a guy downtown a unit that was paying 200%. So what do you do when that changes and they've already signed a buyer's rep?
That is fine. The amount of commission is determined by the listing. And if a listing says 200%, you will get 200%. When you send in your DA to them, because of what is on the listing, you will switch it to 200%. Because you typically—
Wait, I have a question. I have a question for whoever just asked that question. Are
Yes.
you, for that 200%, is it an apartment or is it an actual lease?
It's an actual lease down at Franklin Lofts downtown.
Mhm. A high rise.
Yes.
Okay.
That's wonderful. Did Mary, they don't have to amend this.
No, because I mean, if it's like it depends on how they're paying you. If they're paying you commission on the percentage, but if it's like if they're paying you a referral fee, then that's different. So like if they're paying it out as a referral fee, which usually if it's 200% like that, that's what they're doing, is they're paying it out as a referral fee, not as commission on the transaction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it does say on the MLS 200.
Great.
I'll have to look at that. I'll have to look at that specific one. That's not very typical. So I'll get with you afterwards.
Okay.
Go lease a bunch of them, Lori. All right. Source of commission. Well, first, the broker is going to seek to obtain the payment specified in paragraph 11A, where we just were, first from the seller or the landlord or their agents. Heavy, bold, print, underline. If they refuse or fail to pay them, the client will pay the broker the amount specified, less any amounts broker received from such persons. Now, I know a lot of buyers don't want to sign this because of this one sentence. What do? You remind them and show them an MLS sheet, if you care to, that shows that the listing, the broker of the listing, agrees to pay the buyer's agent 3%. Who's paying it? The seller. It is in MLS. That is what has been agreed upon between the broker and the seller. So you can show them that, letting them know that that is where the money is going to come from. It will not come from them. You can also tell them, typically, the only time this comes into play is if they decide to go see a for sale by owner, and that is when the question will be, Will that for sale by owner pay you a commission or not? That is another form that you get signed between our broker and the owner, the seller, that you can get signed for FSBOs. Is it sometimes difficult to get signed? Occasionally, because the whole reason they're doing a FSBO is not to pay commissions. So the question is, how much does your client want that FSBO? And so then you're going to have a serious conversation if you cannot get the seller to pay your commission, asking the buyer, are you willing to do this? Your client. All right. Most of the time, it's not the case. Does it occasionally happen? Yes. When is it earned and payable? When the house closes or the apartment or the house that is for lease closes. That's when it is payable. Additional compensation, any bonuses or anything like that sometimes comes from builders. You will get paid that. Acquisition, notwithstanding anything, if the client acquires a property that's listed by the broker, the terms of the broker's listing agreement, broker will be paid in accordance with the terms of the listing agreement. All right. F 1, 2, and 3 talks about how other ways you're going to charge. And the first one is for construction. Well, folks, I'm not a contractor, and most of the time we don't go hire painters for our buyers or anything else. So for almost 100% of the thing right here is going to be NA. You're not going to go hire some folks to do construction for them. On service providers, number 2. If the broker refers a client to a party in a transaction like a mover, a cable company, telecommunications, utility, or contractor, the broker may receive a fee from service provider for this referral. We do sign an RSC, which talks to us about a residential service contract, a home warranty. That is not in this list. So this is saying if a mover wants to give you a referral fee for sending them someone, it is okay. We do not take any monies from home warranty companies in this brokerage, and that's what the RSC is for. Next page, any questions? We're not going to hire construction for people or painters or stuff like that. And I have not really heard of much of anybody getting money from a cable company. Number 3, as far as payments to you are concerned, other. In the way back age old, when I was a realtor, we sometimes did a transaction fee on number 3 for other. And Trek got mad because we're getting 3% on a house. Why are we going to charge a transaction fee? So that kind of went by the wayside quite a few years ago. So other will be NA. Protection period, G. Typically you put in about 90 days here. And what is a protection period? Again, does this ever happen? Rarely, and I'll tell you why. After, let's say they get mad at you and they don't want to use you anymore, and we terminate this buyer's rep agreement. If you have, say, 90 days in this protection period, what do you have to do to get your money? Well, it tells you. No later than 10 days after you have been fired, you're going to give a list of all the houses that you have taken these buyers to. And you're going to tell them, if in those 90 days they decide to go back to one of those homes, you're going to still get your money for that and represent them for those homes that you have handed them a list of in those 10 days. Well, there's only one thing. And yes, this does survive the termination of this agreement, but last 3 lines, it will not apply during the 90 days if the client is bound under a representation agreement with another broker. And does that happen? Of course, all the time. Does anybody ever do this? Not that I know of. Is it worth doing? Probably not. So just go on, and if they got mad at you, okay, they got mad at you, let's go find another client. All right, H, escrow authorization. We're going to authorize an escrow or closing agent to close this transaction, your friendly family title company, and then they will collect and disperse all the amounts payable to the broker for the commissions. County. Amounts payable to the broker are paid in cash in Fort Bend. You will always put Fort Bend because that's where our office is. Mediation. Okay, first, if they get mad at you and they want to.
Karen?
Yes, question.
About the county. Well, they told me Harris County. That's why I
No,
put-
ma'am. No, ma'am. Our office is in Fort Bend County, right here. We're in Fort Bend. Never put Harris because our office has not moved. We're in Fort Bend County. You will always put Fort Bend.
Okay, so what do? They already signed it as Harris County.
Who told you to put Harris in there?
Someone in the office.
Shame on them.
I know, I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what
Okay.
to say, but yeah, someone in the office told me to put Harris.
Well,
What do I do? Do I just keep it the way it is, or do I just go over it and change it? I don't know.
I would think it might be smart. This is only 4 or 5 things. Let me get back with you, Mona,
Okay, that's fine.
whether we amend it or we redo.
Okay.
Okay. Mediation. We agree to negotiate in good faith to resolve any dispute that might arise. And if it cannot arise by negotiation, it cannot be resolved. We're going to go to mediation before we sue the boogers. So hopefully you can get it done that way before it goes into anything nasty. Okay. Default. I'm sorry, I'm not a lawyer. Default's very interesting. How do you default? I don't have a clue. If you really think you're in default, ask a real estate attorney, and I can give you a name of 3 of them, because it says the client may exercise any remedy at law. If the broker's in default or the client's in default. How do you default? I don't know. I'm going to be that honest with you. The main thing is, treat your clients well and do your best for them. And if they get mad at you, just let them go. It's not worth it. Just let them go find somebody that will. And usually those people are the ones that were really hard to deal with anyway. Don't you know? Okay. Attorney's fees. If it gets to a suit, it says the client or the broker, and they win the case. They're the prevailing party in a legal proceeding. Then we're going to get from the non-prevailing party all costs for that legal proceeding and the reasonable attorney fees. Limit of liability. It says we're not, if somebody breaks their leg when we're showing them the property, they're not going to hold us. They're going to not. I'll get it out in a minute. They will hold the broker harmless from any such injuries or losses. All right. Now, 16, addenda. All right. You've got a bunch of addendum here that are very interesting and have wonderful information on every single one of them, whether it's about mold or property insurance or lead or flood hazards or get a home inspection. Any and all of those are great. I always recommend the general information one, however. Anything else you can add to this, especially if it's a new first-time home buyer, but for sure the general information. Why? Because it is a kind of like a glossary, a dictionary of very important terms that they need to know. And so that one is kind of an overview, and it talks about some of these other ones. You can give them as many as you feel they need, but especially make sure you get them the general information form for them to sign. Questions? Last page. All right. More additional notices, just other little infos that you want to make sure they know. 1, broker's fees are negotiable. They're not fixed in any way. They're not controlled or recommended or suggested or maintained by any real estate or listing service. It's negotiable. B, we are going to be fair. We're going to go according to fair housing laws. We're not going to discriminate for any of those. What are we up to? 8, 9? Race, color, religion, national origin, sex, disability, familial status, sexual orientation, gender identity. We're up to 9. Those 9 classes, we will not discriminate in any way. Local ordinances may provide for protected classes like for creed, status as a student, marital status, or age. So we can have over 55 home places or singles, things like that. C, I am not an inspector. I am not a lawyer. I am not a surveyor. I'm not an engineer. I don't know much about environment. So make sure you let your people know. You've got my opinion, but guess what? I am not a real estate attorney. I'll give you my opinion on whether that crack going out from the corner of the door frame is important or not, but guess what? I am not an engineer. I am not a foundation expert. Let's go get some help. Make sure they know that. D, you are going to get an abstract of title when you close on a house and you recommend them to go through a title company to close this property. E, you may purchase a residential service contract. There are several, a bunch of several in the state of Texas, and they are operated by the state of Texas. So you can give them 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 companies for them to choose from. They get a choice. They tell the title company who they want to get their 1-year home warranty from. It's up to them. F, when viewing a property, you could, this one's important. When viewing a property, you could be recorded without knowing it. And consult an attorney before recording or photographing a property without the owner's knowledge or consent. So it might not be smart for you, the buyer's agent, to let your buyers film inside the house. Now, why this is important, F, tell your buyers before you go inside a house, hey folks, where there's always a chance you're going to be recorded while you're in there, even if we don't know it. They could have a baby monitor on the top of the shelf, recording what we say. If you want to talk about putting an offer in, let's wait till we come back outside. Do this every time. Don't belittle a house. I cannot believe they painted it that color. Or who would have put that marble in? You know, that granite is just hideous. Not smart. Because guess what? You're going to have to be negotiating with that owner. And if they heard what you said about their house, they might be a little ticked. And we don't want to get them mad even before we even put an offer in. So make sure they understand you might be recorded and without their knowledge. G is again wire fraud warning. We also have our other wire fraud warning. Make sure you let your folks know in more than one way, here and the other. Do not, if someone sends you an email saying, I had to change the information to send your money, or we need to send it now, or any other way, don't do it. You will be talking to a title company, and that title company will get with you about how to bring your money to the table. Lastly, consult an attorney. I'm not going to give legal advice. This is a legally binding agreement. Read it carefully. If you don't know what it says or understand it, seek an attorney's help before you sign. Broker's name is always the name of the office. Keller Williams Premier Realty, Katie, with our license number 414770. You are the broker associate. The bottom box, you sign and print your name. Lastly, at the top of every page, it is buyer-tenant representation agreement between Keller Williams Premier Realty, and this should auto-populate and your clients' names. So the top of every page should have our name, the office, and the client's name. The bottom of every page should have their initials and yours. Okay. Questions, ladies?
I have one, Karen, again. I'm sorry. When do you think the buyer's reps will be revamped as far as giving us more protection? Do you think it will ever be where we get 3% no matter what? I mean, I know it's negotiable, but why don't we have a contract?
Well, the listing is where your commission comes from the listing agreement, not from the buyer's rep. And so it is dependent upon what that listing agreement says. That goes in HAR. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, but yes, there are some 2.5% listings. That's all you're gonna get. That's all you're gonna get. Even though you say 3% in here, does a buyer's agent ask a buyer for the extra 0.5%? No. Why? They want to represent them again. They want to be referred by them. So typically, they're not going to ask for more money, since when they signed this, they said, I'm going to get my money elsewhere. Do buyer's agents not show listings that only have a 2.5% commission? Probably. Do you? It's up to you. If you just send a client report to your, a client full report to your clients, not an agent full report, your clients will never know that that listing was 2.5%. So that is up to you as an agent. Are you going to do that? Probably not. You're going to always show them everything that's in the market for them to see that is applicable to what their needs are. Do some agents maybe not show those? Probably, but that's your choice. To me, I'm going to show them at 2.5% because I know that that house would be perfect for them.
The only reason I'm asking that is I've had so many of them want to strike out that one bold print. So I do.
I understand. And that's, you know, a decision you will have to make, and that's okay. It happens, and it happens often. So that's all right. You're still feeling that you're probably going to get paid because that's from the listing side. Next question.
Hey, Karen, this is Lei. I have a question about the commission you just mentioned about, for example, like a 0.5%. I also saw another case, a similar case, but the buyer agent didn't ask the buyer to compensate, but also, I mean, instead, that person asked the seller's agent to give amount of money as a bonus or something. I think that they didn't put it in the contract until the last day when the client signed the contract. They saw that $5,000 that the seller will give to the buyer's agent for closing the case. And I was just curious, I mean, that scenario, what are you gonna say? Is that normal, allowed?
Okay, now where did the extra 5,000, was it a BTSA from a buyer, from a seller?
Is it from the seller? That's right.
Okay, so it was
I think
probably
the
from
deal
a
was
builder.
made between, I think, no, the deal was made between buyer's agent and the seller's agent.
That the selling agent would give. Okay, BTSA, bonus to selling agent. FYI here, selling
That's
agent is
to
the same as
seller's
buyer's
right?
agent, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Selling agent's the same as buyer's agent. In an
Now I'm
MLS
talking
sheet
about
on
the
the bottom,
difference.
there is a place to put a bonus that the listing agent, the sellers, have decided they're going to give to incentivize bringing buyers. That money
Yes.
goes in there now, and that is due to you, the buyer's agent. Also, builders do the same. They pay BTSAs, bonus to selling agent.
Okay.
You.
Gotcha. Now I understand it. Okay.
Say that again, Lane.
No, I now I get what you meant. Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, I think so.
Okay,
I think I know how it works now.
gotcha. Any other questions? All right. Well, in another couple of weeks, I don't think it's next Friday. It's in probably in August somewhere. I'll be doing the listing agreement. Unmute, please. Tell me, was this helpful or not?
It
It
was
was, thank
Yes,
you.
it
very,
was
Definitely.
helpful. Thank you.
very much so. I just can't wait to be able to use it.
That's right.
Yeah, I just went through my Zip Form Plus template for buyers forms and, you know, scrolled down through this form and I added the 50% on the rental thing in case somebody's renting. I added the general information and notice to buyers and sellers in the addenda 16, just so that my template is up to date with what
Perfect.
you're telling me. So awesome. Thank you.
Yay. Cool, cool, cool. Well, you know where I am. Hopefully this will help. And I'm always here for you guys. Have a wonderful afternoon and I will see you soon.
Thank you. Happy birthday, Late.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful. I had a
Good.
super time.
Good.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Karen. Bye, everyone.